Isn't it funny how a bear likes honey? Buzz, 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 I wonder why he does. It's a very funny thought that if bears were bees, they'd build their nests at the bottom of trees. And that being so, if the bees were bears, we shouldn't have to climb up all these stairs. How sweet to be a cloud floating in the blue. Every little cloud always sings aloud. How sweet to be a cloud floating in the blue. How sweet to be a cloud floating in the blue. It makes him very proud to be a little cloud. How sweet to be a cloud floating in the blue. Cottleston, Cottleston, Cottleston Pie. A fly can't bird, but a bird can fly. Ask me a riddle and I'll reply. Cottleston, Cottleston, Cottleston Pie. Cottleston, Cottleston, Cottleston Pie. A fish can't whistle and neither can I. Ask me a riddle and I'll reply. Cottleston, Cottleston, Cottleston Pie. Cottleston, Cottleston, Cottleston Pie. Why does a chicken? I don't know why. Ask me a riddle and I'll reply. Cottleston, Cottleston, Cottleston Pie. On Monday when the sun is hot, I wonder to myself a lot. Now is it true or is it not that what is which and which is what? On Tuesday when it hails and snows, the feeling on me grows and grows that hardly anybody knows if those are these or these are those. On Wednesday when the sky is blue and I have nothing else to do, I sometimes wonder if it's true that who is what and what is who. On Thursday when it starts to freeze and hoarfrost twinkles on the trees, how very readily one sees that these are whose, but whose are these? On Friday, what did happen on Friday? 3 cheers for Pooh. For who? For Pooh. Why, what did he do? I thought you knew. He saved his friend from a wetting. 3 cheers for Bear. For where? For Bear. He couldn't swim, but he rescued him. He rescued who? Oh, listen, do. I am talking of Pooh. Of who? Of Pooh. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting. Well, Pooh was a bear of enormous brain. Just say it again. Of enormous brain. Of enormous what? Well, he ate a lot, and I don't know if he could swim or not, but he managed to float on a sort of boat. On a sort of what? Well, a sort of pot. So now let's give him 3 hearty cheers. So now let's give him 3 hearty witches, and hope he'll be with us for years and years, and grow in health and wisdom and riches. Three cheers for Pooh, for Pooh. 3 cheers for Bear, for Bear. 3 cheers for the wonderful Winnie the Pooh. Just tell me, somebody, what did he do? The more it snows, tiddly-pom, the more it goes, tiddly-pom, the more it goes, tiddly-pom, on snowing, and nobody knows, tiddly-pom, how cold my toes, tiddly-pom, how cold my toes, tiddly-pom, are growing, tra-la-la, 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 rum-tum, tiddle-lum-tum, tiddle-little, 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 rum-tum-tum, tiddle-lum, tra-la-la, 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 rum-tum, tiddle-lum-tum, tiddle-little, 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 rum-tum-tum, tiddle-lum. What shall we do about poor little Tigger? If he never eats nothing, he'll never get bigger. He doesn't like honey and acorns and thistles because of the taste and because of the bristles. And all the good things which an animal likes have the wrong sort of swallow or too many spikes. But whatever his weight in pounds, shillings, and ounces, he always seems bigger because of his bounces. Bounces. Butterflies are flying now, the winter days are dying, and the primroses are trying to be seen. And the turtle doves are cooing, and the woods are up and doing, for the violets are blooming in the green. Oh, the honeybees are gumming on their little wings and humming that the summer which is coming will be fun. And the cows are almost cooing, and the turtle doves are mooing, which is why a Pooh is pooing in the sun. For the spring is really springing, you can see the skylark singing, and the bluebells which are ringing can be heard. And the cuckoo isn't cooing, but he's clucking and he's oohing, and the Pooh is simply pooing like a bird. I lay on my chest and I thought it best to pretend I was having an evening rest. I lay on my tum and I tried to hum, but nothing particular seemed to come. My face was flat on the floor, and that is all very well for an acrobat, but it doesn't seem fair to a friendly bear to stiffen him out with a basket chair. And a sort of squoze which grows and grows is not too nice for his poor old nose, and a sort of squatch is much too much for his neck and his mouth and his ears and such. Here lies a tree which Owl, a bird, was fond of when it stood on end, and Owl was talking to a friend called me, in case you hadn't heard, when something occurred. For lo, the wind was blusterous and flattened out his favorite tree, and things looked bad for him, and we looked bad, I mean, for he and us. I've never known them once. Then Piglet thought a thing. Courage, he said, there's always hope. I want a thinnish piece of rope, or if there isn't any, bring a thickish piece of string. So to the letterbox he rose, while Pooh and Owl said oh and hum, and where the letters always come, called letters only, Piglet scores his head and then his toes. Gallant Piglet, how did Piglet tremble? Did he blinch? No, he struggled inch by inch through letters only, as I know, because I saw him go. He ran, and then he stood and shouted help for Owl, a bird, and Pooh, a bear, until he heard the others coming through the wood as quickly as they could. Help, and rescue, Piglet cried, and showed the others where to go. Sing ho for Piglet, Piglet ho, and soon the door was opened wide, and we were both outside. Sing ho for Piglet ho, ho. Christopher Robin is going, at least I think he is. Where? Nobody knows, but he is going. I mean, he goes to rhyme with nose. Do we care? To rhyme with where? We do very much. I haven't got a rhyme for that is in the second line yet. Bother! Now I haven't got a rhyme for that. Bother! Bother! Those two bothers will have to rhyme with each other. Bother! The fact is more difficult than I thought. I ought. Very good indeed. I ought to begin again. But it's easier to stop. Christopher Robin, goodbye. And all your friends your friend, send. Very awkward this, it keeps going wrong. Well, anyhow, we send our love. We send our love. We send our love. Well, anyhow, we send our love. I'm fishing. Don't talk, anybody, don't come near. Can't you see that the fish might hear? He thinks I'm playing with a piece of string. He thinks I'm another sort of funny sort of thing. But he doesn't know I'm fishing. He doesn't know I'm fishing. That's what I'm doing, fishing. No, I'm not. I'm newting. Don't cough, anybody, don't come by. Any small noise makes a newt feel shy. He thinks I'm a bush or a new sort of tree. He thinks it's somebody but doesn't think it's me. And he doesn't know I'm newting. No, he doesn't know I'm newting. That's what I'm doing, newting. Christopher Robin had weasels and sneezles. They bundled him into his bed. They gave him what goes with a cold in the nose and some more for a cold in the head. They wondered if weasels could turn into measles, if sneezles would turn into mumps. They examined his chest for a rash and the rest of his body for swelling and lumps. They sent for some doctors in sneezles and wheezles to tell them what ought to be done. All sorts and conditions of famous physicians came hurrying round at a run. They all made a note of the state of his throat. They asked if he suffered from thirst. They asked if the sneezles came after the weasels, or if the first sneezle came first. They said, if you teasel a sneezle or wheezle, a measle may easily grow. But humour or pleasel, the weasel or sneezle, the measle will certainly go. They expounded the reasons for sneezles and weasels, the appearance of measles when new. They said if he freezles in draughts and in breezels, and epithesals may even ensue. Christopher Robin got up in the morning. The sneezles had vanished away, and the look in his eye seemed to say to the sky, now how to amuse them today? And lots of people who are always asking things like dates and pound and ounces and the names of funny kings, and the answer's either sixpence or 100 inches long. And I know they'll think me silly if I get the answer wrong, the answer wrong. So Pooh and I go whispering, and Pooh looks very bright and says, well, I say sixpence, but I don't suppose I'm right. And then it doesn't matter what the answer ought to be, 'cause if he's right, I'm right, and if he's wrong, it isn't me. If he's wrong, it isn't me. If I were a bear, and a big bear too, I shouldn't much care if it froze or snew. I shouldn't much mind if it snowed or frizzed. I'd be all fur-lined with a coat like his. I'd have fur boots and a big brown wrap, and brown fur knickers and a big fur cap. I'd have a firm upper wrap to cover my jaws, and brown fur mittens on my big brown paws. With a big brown furry down up to my head, I'd sleep all the winter. I'd sleep all the winter in a big fur bed. King of Peru, who was emperor too, had a sort of a rhyme which was useful to know. If he felt very shy when a stranger came by, or they asked him the time when his watch didn't go, or supposing he fell by mistake down a well, or he tumbled when skating and sat on his hat, or perhaps wasn't told till his porridge was cold that his breakfast was waiting, or something like that. Whenever the emperor got in a temper or felt himself sulky or sad, he would murmur and murmur until he felt firmer this curious rhyme which he had. 8 8s are 64, multiply by 7. When it's done, carry 1 and take away 11. 9 9s are 81, multiply by 3. If it's more, carry 4, and then it's time for tea. So whenever the queen took his armor to clean, and she didn't remember to use any starch, or his birthday in May was a horrible day, being wet as November and windy as March, or if sitting in state with the wise and the great, he just happened to hiccup while signing his name, or the queen gave a cough when his crown tumbled off as he bent down to pick up a pen for the same. Whenever the emperor got in a temper or felt himself awkward and shy, he would whisper and whisper until he felt crisper this odd little rhyme to the sky. 8 8s are 81, multiply by 7. If it's more, carry 4 and take away 11. 9 9s are 64, multiply by 3. When it's done, carry 1, and then it's time for tea. Somewhere as fast as it can, I couldn't keep up with it. Not if I ran. But if I stopped holding the string of my kite, it would blow with the wind for a day and a night, and then when I found it wherever it blew, I should know that the wind had been blowing there too. So then I could tell them where the wind goes, but where the wind comes from, nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody. There were two little bears who lived in a wood, and one of them was bad and the other was good. Good bear learned his twice times one, and bad bear left all his buttons undone. They lived in a tree when the weather was hot, and one of them was good and the other was not. Good bear learned his twice times two, and bad bear's thingamies were worn right through. Cave when the weather was cold, and they did or they didn't do what they were told. Good bear learned his twice times three, and bad bear never had his handkerchief. They lived in a wood with a kind old aunt, and one said yes'm and the other said shan't. Good bear learned his twice times four, and bad bear's knickerties were terrible tall. And then quite suddenly, just like us, one got better and the other got worse. Good bear muddled his twice times three, and bad bear coughed in his handkerchief. Good bear muddled his twice times two, and bad bear's thingamies looked like new. Good bear muddled his twice times one, and bad bear never left his buttons undone. There may be a moral, though some say not. I think there's a moral, though I don't know what. But if one gets better as the other gets worse, these two little bears are just like us. For Christopher loves his twice times 10, and I never know where I've put my pen. So I shall have to write the next one in pencil. I found a little beetle, so that beetle was his name, and I called him Alexander, and he answered just the same. I put him in a matchbox, and I kept him all the day. And Nanny let my beetle out, yes, Nanny let my beetle out. She went and let my beetle out, and beetle ran away. She said she didn't mean it, and I never said she did. She said she wanted matches, and she just took off the lid. She said that she was sorry, but it's difficult to catch an excited sort of beetle you've mistaken for a match. She said that she was sorry, and I really mustn't mind, as there's lots and lots of beetles which she's certain we could find if we looked about the garden for the holes where beetles hid, and we'd get another matchbox and write beetle on the lid. We went to all the places which a beetle might be near, and we made the sort of noises which a beetle likes to hear. And I saw a kind of something, and I gave a sort of shout. A beetle house and Alexander Beetle coming out. It was Alexander Beetle, I'm as certain as can be, and he had a sort of look as if he thought it must be me, and he had a sort of look as if he thought he ought to say, I'm very, very sorry that I tried to run away. And Nanny's very sorry too, for you know what she did, and she's writing Alexander very blackly on the lid. So Nan and me are friends because it's difficult to catch an excited Alexander you've mistaken for a match. There's a cavern in the mountain where the old men meet. Hammer, 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 hammer. They make gold slippers for my lady's feet. Hammer, 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 hammer. My lady is marrying her own tonight. White her gown and her veil is white, but she must have slippers on her dainty feet. Hammer, hammer, hammer. hammer. There's a cottage by the river where the old wives meet. Chatter, 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 chatter. They weave gold stockings for my lady's feet. Chatter, 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 chatter. My lady is going to her own two-man. Used to use since the world began, but she must have stockings on her dainty feet. Chatter, 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 chatter. Stream where the kingcups grow, up on the hill where the pine trees blow. Anywhere, anywhere, I don't know. Where am I going? The clouds sail by, little ones, baby ones, over the sky. Where am I going? The shadows pass, little ones, baby ones, over the grass. If you were a cloud and sailed up there, you'd sail on water as blue as air, and you'd see me here in the fields and say, doesn't the sky look green today? Where am I going? The high rooks call. It's awful fun to be born at all. Where am I going? The ringdoves coo. We do have beautiful things to do. If you were a bird and lived on high, you'd lean on the wind when the wind came by. You'd say to the wind when it took you away, that's where I wanted to go today. Where am I going? I don't quite know. What does it matter where people go? Down to the wood where the bluebells grow. Anywhere, anywhere, I don't know. James, Morrison, Weatherby, George Dupree took great care of his mother, though he was only 3. James said to his mother, he said he, you must never go down to the end of the town if you don't go down with me. James, Morrison's mother put on a golden gown. James, Morrison's mother drove to the end of the town. James, Morrison's mother said to herself, said she, I can get right down to the end of the town and be back in time for tea. King John put put up a notice, lost or stolen or strayed. James Morrison's mother seems to have been mislaid. Last seen wandering vaguely, quite of her own accord. She tried to get down to the end of the town, 40 shillings reward. James Morrison, commonly known as Jim, told his other relations not to go blaming him. James said to his mother, he said he, you must never go down to the end of the town without consulting me. James Morrison's mother hasn't been heard of since. King John said he was sorry, so did the Queen and Prince. King John, somebody told me, said to a man he knew, if people go down to the end of the town, well, what can anyone do? J-M-M-W-G to P took great C off his M, though he was only 3. J said to his M, he said he, you must never go down to the end of the town if you don't go down with me. Ernest was an elephant, a great big fellow. Leonard was a lion with a 6-foot tail. George was a goat, and his beard was yellow. And James was a very small snail. Leonard had a stall and a great big strong one. Ernest had a manger, and its walls were thick. George found a pen, but I think it was the wrong one, and James sat down on a brick. Ernest started trumpeting and cracked his manger. Leonard started roaring and shivered his stall. James gave a huffle of a snail in danger, and nobody heard him at all. Ernest started trumpeting and raised such a rumpus. Leonard started roaring and trying to kick. James went a journey with the goat's new compass and reached the end of his brick. Ernest was an elephant and very well intentioned. Leonard was a lion with a brave new tail. George was a goat, as I think I've mentioned, but James was only a snail. Sir Brian had a battle axe with great big knobs on. He went among the villagers and blipped them on the head. On Wednesday and on Saturday, but mostly on the latter day, he called at all the cottages, and this is what he said. I am Sir Brian Tingling. I am Sir Brian Raffat. I am Sir Brian, as bold as a lion. Take that, and that, and that. Sir Brian had a pair of boots with great big spurs on, a fighting pair of which he was particularly fond. On Tuesday and on Friday, just to make the streets look tidy, he'd collect the passing villagers and kick them in the pond. I am Sir Brian Splosh. I am Sir Brian Splosh. I am Sir Brian, as bold as a lion. Is anyone else for a wash? Sir Brian woke one morning and he couldn't find his battle axe. He walked into the village in his second pair of boots. He had gone 100 paces when the street was full of faces, and the villagers were round him with ironical salutes. You are Sir Brian indeed. You are Sir Brian, dear, dear. You are Sir Brian, as bold as a lion, delighted to meet you here. Sir Brian went a journey and he found a lot of duckweed. They pulled him out and dried him and they blipped him on the head. They took him by the breeches and they hurled him into ditches and they pushed him under waterfalls. And this is what they said. You are Sir Brian, don't laugh. You are Sir Brian, don't cry. You are Sir Brian, as bold as a lion. Sir Brian, the lion, goodbye. Sir Brian struggled home again and chopped up his battle axe. Sir Brian took his fighting boots and threw them in the fire. He is quite a different person now. He hasn't got his spurs on and he goes about the village as Botany Esquire. I am Sir Brian, oh no. I am Sir Brian, who's he? I haven't got any title, I'm Botany, plain Mr. Botany Bee. The changing guard at Buckingham Palace. Christopher Robin went down with Alice. Alice is marrying one of the guard. A soldier's life is terribly hard, says Alice. They're changing guard at Buckingham Palace. Christopher Robin went down with Alice. We saw a guard in a sentry box. One of the sergeants looks after their socks, says Alice. They're changing guard at Buckingham Palace. Christopher Robin went down with Alice. We looked for the king, but he never came. Well, God take care of him all the same, says Alice. They're changing guard at Buckingham Palace. Christopher Robin went down with Alice. They've great big parties inside the grounds. I wouldn't be king for £100, says Alice. They're changing guard at Buckingham Palace. Christopher Robin went down with Alice. Her face looked out, but it wasn't the king's. He's much too busy assigning things, says Alice. They're changing guard at Buckingham Palace. Christopher Robin went down with Alice. Do you think the king knows all about me? Sure to, dear, but it's time for tea, says Alice. Lions and roaring tigers and enormous camels and things. There are buffalo, bisons and a great big bear with wings. There's a sort of a tiny hippopotamus and a tiny rhinoceros too. But I gave buns to the elephant when I went down to the zoo. There are badgers and bitches and bodgers and a superintendent's house. There are masses of goats and a polar and different kinds of mouse. And I think there's a sort of a something which is called a wallaby. But I gave buns to the elephant when I went down to the zoo. If you try to talk to the bison, he never quite understands. You can't shake hands with the Mingo, he doesn't like shaking hands. and lions and roaring tigers hate saying, how do you do? But I give buns to the elephant when I go down to the zoo. What shall I call my dear little dormouse? His eyes are small, but his tail is enormous. This is his tail. So is this? I sometimes call him Terrible John, 'cause his tail goes on and on and on. And I sometimes call him Terrible Jack, 'cause his tail goes on to the end of his back. And I sometimes call him Terrible James, 'cause he says he likes me calling him names. But I think I shall call him Jim, 'cause I am so fond of